I am 31 years old, was diagnosed with stage 2B cervical cancer. I am doing this video in hopes that to educate men, women about cervical cancer as well as HPV and why it's so important to get regular pap smears. In this video, I will be talking about my diagnosis, my treatments, as well as educating you guys, and I hope that you would find this video enlightening, that enough that you would help me basically spread the word about getting regular pap smears, and I hope that you would also donate to our GoFundMe page as well. So first off, I just want to tell you guys a little bit about how I found out I had cervical cancer. 2 weeks before my wedding, which was on June 16th, 2018, 2 weeks before, I found out through doing a pap smear. I went in to get a pap smear done so that I can get my birth control refilled. When the gynecologist was doing the pap smear, she noticed from her naked eye that there were some abnormalities in my cervix. So from there, she took some tissue samples and sent them into the lab, and I got a call back about 48 hours after my pap smear, and she told me that basically I needed to drop everything that I was doing at this moment, stop eating, and to wait for the chief of surgery to call me, because I was going to be going in the following day for a cold knife cone biopsy. So I went in for my cold knife cone biopsy, which was done under anesthesia. They basically shaved off your cervix as like a cone, and they basically shave off a couple layers of your cervix to hopefully get rid of some of the cervical cells, the abnormal cells. When I got out of surgery, they told me that the gynecologist said she did whatever she could to remove most of the cells, but she was pretty sure that there were still cells left behind and possibly still a tumor. So from there, she sent me to a specialist, which is basically a cancer doctor for cervical cancer. So it's called a oncologist gynecologist. I was sent there and told that I had stage 1B1 cervical cancer. From there, my husband and I just felt what they kind of told us, and kind of their procedure for treating cervical cancer just wasn't what we were expecting, or wasn't exactly what we felt to be right. So we from there basically decided that we would shortly kind of put things on hold and get married, and we would deal with it after, since our marriage was right around the corner. We had a week and a half until we were gonna get married. During that time, we did obviously decide to pay for our own wedding. Yay! We also, during that time, I was finishing up school, my master's and my teaching credential. So we had some hefty loans out from the wedding and from my schooling. So going on, after I decided that this particular gynecologist wasn't for me, I got lucky, and my 3-month probation period was up for work, And so I was able to get onto their health insurance, and I am currently at Stanford University in Palo Alto, California. It ended up being the right fit. My gynecologist oncologist is absolutely amazing, as well as my radiologist is also amazing as well. Very down to earth, very friendly, just a go-getter, just wants to do whatever he or she can to help me look forward to being healthy again. So the doctor, the oncologist, gynecologist at Stanford decided that the best route for me to go would be to get 25 rounds of radiation. So that would be 5 days a week for 5 weeks, which would equal 25 radiation, external radiation. That will be done in a satellite location, which is an hour and a half from where I live. So it's a 3-hour drive every day for 5 weeks. So basically, I'll get up in the morning. My husband will drive me to my radiation appointments, and then he will head off to his 11.5-hour shift 5 days a week. So it's definitely going to be a struggle, but unfortunately we can't afford for him to go on to family leave. It just wouldn't work out that way, unfortunately. So from there, I forgot to mention too, 1 day a week we will be going to Stanford, which is about 3-hour drive each way, so it'll be 6 hours in the car driving, and I will get my chemo at Stanford University with my gynecologist oncologist on staff. The chemo will be done through a drip. Unfortunately, I did not qualify for a oral medication for chemo. I got lucky in the sense that the chemo is a small dose, so I will lose some of my hair, but not all of my hair. I will not be completely bald, but I will lose patches of hair, which is kind of great. And then after my 25 treatments of radiation and chemo, I will then get internal radiation, which is 2.5 weeks. So it'll be Monday and Friday, and that unfortunately will be done at Stanford, each of those treatments. So it'll be a 6-hour drive there, and 3 there and 3 hours back, which is 6 hours. Monday and then Friday for 2.5 weeks. They do have housing, but again, unfortunately, we will not be able to afford that. It is definitely a stretch. I was hooked up to a social worker through Stanford University, and it's about $60 a day, which equals out to about $2,000, and that's just not doable. So we will be driving back and forth every day to get my treatments. I am on disability at the moment. The doctor, as far as the oncologist, gynecologist, and the radiologist, and my husband and I decided that it just wasn't safe for me to continue to work while I'm getting my treatments, just because if I were to get sick, because it is flu season, it's fall here, that it would prolong my treatments, and it would prolong me from getting better, and it can definitely have the intention of helping my cancer to spread. So we just decided that we would do what we could to make ends meet by him working and me being on disability/leave. So there's kind of my story. That's a long story short. I just kind of wanted to talk to you guys and educate you guys on cervical cancer itself. Cervical cancer, I'm sure you guys, most of you guys know that it starts from a virus called HPV. You don't necessarily know you have HPV unless you actually get screened for HPV when you get a pelvic exam. A regular pap smear does not screen you for HPV unless you are already positive for it. Then they may see signs of it. But other than that, if they're not screening and you don't ask for a HPV test, you will not be tested. I will tell you that I've had the opportunity through Facebook to kind of talk to other women that are unfortunately younger than me or possibly older than me who didn't necessarily know they had cervical cancer until they were stage 4. There are no signs or symptoms of HPV or of cervical cancer. It's considered one of the most deadliest deadliest cancers out there for women and men. I unfortunately did not have any symptoms, nor did I have any idea that I had stage 2 cervical cancer. And if I hadn't gone in and got that pelvic exam, it could have been too late. Once it spreads like wildfire, and yeah, it's really sad. So I just, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but 5 minutes in a gynecologist in stirrups can definitely save your life. So just the next time you think about passing up that pap smear test, just know that, hey, Sarah has cervical cancer, and for me at least, I would rather have 100 pap smear tests than have to ever go through this ever again, because it's not fun. Anyways, I just wanted to conclude this video that I do have a GoFundMe page to help us out with expenses. I have never really asked for anything as far as money or help. I'm one of those that usually like to do pretty much everything myself. I'm pretty independent, and I believe that you should have to work for what you get. But we just can't do that. We absolutely need people's help, and in any way possible, even if it's not through giving money, if it's just praying for us or just shooting us a text message or calling us, that always helps too, definitely. The number one thing that they tell me on a lot of these Facebook pages for cervical cancer is keep your eye on the prize. So my eye is on the prize as far as getting better and getting through this. So anyways, thank you so much for all that you guys have done so far, and I will be updating you in a couple weeks when I start chemo and radiation. And yeah, thank you so much.